what were your top 5 moves that the Raiders made during the entire offseason circuit? And that's like including everything, whether it's, front office, trade, free agency, specific draft picks, all that. Just I know you can probably go way more than 5, but let's just give me your top 5. It don't got to be in no order.
No, you're okay. Honestly, the first thing that popped in my head is hiring John Spytek at general manager with Pete Carroll. And I say that because, you have to hire somebody. Like if you're going to hire Pete, I said earlier in the process that it's a very risky hire because if you're the Raiders, you failed to get one head coach right. When you hire Pete, you're kind of hiring two because he's 71 years old. So, like you got to basically get two right. But what the Raiders were able to do by just building the staff, and I know it was a huge nut punch when we didn't get Ben Johnson, but I said this, I think honestly, if you told me Ben Johnson or John Spytek, Pete Carroll, Patrick Graham, and Chip Kelly, I think I honestly sign up for this. And I love what we were able to do, and I think that we are operating like a smart organization, and that's just one of those things that we haven't had for a long time. So that's move right there. I think going out and trading for Geno Smith gives us a legit quarterback where if I had to rank him right now, he's number 14 on my rankings, but I think he's got legit top 10 upside, which I don't think a lot of people can say. And, when you have Chip Kelly and you have our offense, I think that that's got to be up there. I think extending Max Crosby, when you extend Max Crosby, that tells everybody in the entire world that we're trying to win right now. And there was a lot of question marks of whether, that was going to happen. And I'm proud that the Raiders did right by Mad Max, but they also, told a lot of people, hey, we're trying to win in this 3-year window with Pete. And I think it makes a lot of sense. And the Crosby deal really helps me understand what the Raiders' plan is with Pete because, when you give somebody an extension, you usually backload it, right? Like that's what teams do.
Right.
They front-loaded Max's contract. So it's 38 in year 1, 32, and then it's 27 with 0 guaranteed. You lower Max Crosby's contract that year because Pete's trying to get that 4th year. And, I think that's what that's saying. Max is saying, hey, if we're not a Super Bowl caliber team in 2 years, I have 0 guaranteed. I can get out of it. I'm more tradable. Right. So I think it's extending Max Crosby. I'll be real. I think going out and getting a guy like Ashton Genty, and I say this twofold where I know I want an Armin Membu, but just the human being that Ashton Genty is and the dynamicness it's going to add to our offense on top of the fact of, drafting Genty. And I know there's a lot of Raiders fans that wanted Shedeur Sanders, but I'm happy that the Raiders passed on Shedeur only because I'm a Geno believer. I don't care if you believe in Shedeur or not. That's a totally different conversation. I believe in Geno, and I want the nation for the first time since I've ever been covering the Raiders to be dedicated to one quarterback and one quarterback only. It's always been this guy, this guy, this guy. No, we got to be together. We got to be a team. So I think going out and getting Genty was a really, really smart move. And then if I had to go one more on top of that, oh, man. There's a lot that I just threw at you. How about also, I'll do one that's kind of recent. The Raiders recently hired Anthony Patch and Brian Stark. Brian Stark's done a great job from Denver, helping build through the draft. And I think if we're going to do this the right way, we got to be able to build in the draft. Plus, you steal somebody from the AFC West and the Broncos. And Howie Roseman has always been somebody that I loved in the NFL because he always proves that he's got a set of nuts on him. And I think you got to have a set of nuts to win in the NFL. Yeah. And he goes out there and he gets his guys, which, sometimes people don't like that. But if you're confident in what you do, go out and get your guy. And they just stole Anthony Patch, who was literally the right-hand man to Howie Roseman, who worked with Spytek. So I think in all-encompassing, those are my top 5 moves.
No, I love it. I love it, man. And honestly, it really hit home when you were saying, because me personally, of course, I wanted Ben Johnson. But then when you think about, the Pete move, just him retaining Patrick Graham, to me, that was a big deal. That's a huge deal.
I want a PG more than I wanted Antonio Pierce last year, and that's not a disrespectful thing to AP. It's just, AP got fired to be a head coach. Nobody hired him. Patrick Graham gets a raise to be the defensive coordinator. I think it's just PG is one of the most underrated coaches in the NFL, and it's why I actually was so pissed off the way Jacksonville did him dirty. And, again, they wanted Liam Cohen. That's fine. Yeah. But I really did think that PG deserves to be a shot. I think he's a top 40 head coach candidate in the NFL.
Yeah, that makes sense. I was just kind of thinking my top 5. So mine was one, just hiring Pete. Because again, I think that I did want Ben Johnson, but I think as a young coach, and if I was his agent, why would I want him to go to the Raiders? We didn't have there was not much, so we really had to offer. So, I think once, Ben Johnson got hired, I thought this Pete was, the best that we could get. And I think that Pete is going to, if nothing else, he's going to build that foundation for us, if nothing else. So, and I think, of course, that Geno trade was huge. Just kind of like you said, Anthony Patch, I think that's going to be significant. Just the way he kind of built that Eagles team. Those guys, everyone's daggone from the draft, and then they just kind of sprinkled some free agents, at the end. And that's how you should use free agency, just as a compliment to what you already got. That should not be your main focus in building a squad. So I love his approach. The Chip Kelly hiring, actually, at first I didn't like it because I wasn't a big Chip Kelly guy because of his people skills. But then I had to kind of take a step back and just realize if he's just being a wizard behind the scene, creating the offense.
What is Pete great at?
Exactly. He's good at the people part. He'll make sure that Chip stays reeled in. Chip, yep. I just need you to draw up the plays, get our ballers a ball.
That's what he does. You can't deny Chip Kelly's been able to win or not. He's been able to design really effective offenses with a multitude of different quarterbacks and a whole bunch of different talent around him. And I'm super excited to see what Chip Kelly can do.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And then lastly, I think it's kind of underrated, but I really like us drafting Darian Porter. I think he's going to be a dog. I know he's still raw, he's still green, but if he can develop, and it seems like he's kind of like a sponge, he picks up things quickly.
Great.
Him and JB, we got Bennett, I think, coming in year 3 or whatever he is. He had that sophomore, jump where he did well. And I think that continuity with Patrick Graham, really helped him. But I think having those two young guys that can run the way they can run, our defense can get nice. So that excites me.
I expect our defense to be one of the better. Again, I think it's really going to come down to the defensive line, because to me, what the Raiders are telling me right now, and I think that we do have a lot of super athletic, long, lanky corners. And, we used to say all the time last year on the Raiders Report, like, you should like the Caleb Jason signing because you should believe in Rob Leonard. You should believe in Patrick Graham. Exactly. You should like them going out and getting a guy like Darian Porter. And then if I'm sitting back, I'm going, Ja'Cory and Bennett and DeCamerion Richardson are literally the prototype of cornerback that Pete Carroll would go out and get. You had a former first-round pick in Eric Stokes who, had some issues staying healthy, but was able to stay healthy last season. Super competitive dude. And if you're able to get pressure with 4, maybe 5 on that defensive line, and we got one of the deepest defensive lines in the NFL, if we're able to stay healthy, bringing back Adam Butler, bringing back Malcolm Kuntz for the price tag compared to what it would cost for Spillane, Merrick, Hobbs. I'll pick Kuntz and Adam Butler every single day and twice on Sunday. But, when you can get after the quarterback, that's going to be the bigger determining factor on how well our corners play, because they are super inexperienced. But you can't deny how athletic they are, and there's some serious upside there. You got to believe what Pete's doing. You got to believe in what our defense is doing.
No, I agree for sure.
Linebacker scares the hell out of me, though.
My God. Yeah, we'll get on that.
We be them Raiders. We be them